How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you guys are having a great day so far, and hopefully the MCAT studying has been going well. I know it's been like a week since I checked in with you last, and I know that a lot of studying could happen within a week, so hopefully everyone's been having a good go at it so far. But anyways, my name's Gianluca. I'm a first-year Canadian medical student, and today I'm talking about the psychological and sociological foundations of behavior, or basically the psychology and sociology section of the MCAT. So the goal of today's video, keep it short and sweet. I'm going to go over, first of all, 3 reasons why, unfortunately, a lot of people do not do very well on this section of the MCAT. I'm also going to be talking about how I studied for the test, and also how I think that other people should be studying for this section, because unfortunately, this was the lowest section that I got on my test. I scored a 128. I hate talking about my score all the time, but in case people haven't watched the other ones, I think it's very important that I mention it for transparency's sake. And then finally, the last thing that I'm going to be talking about is 5 quick tips that you could use or implement when you actually write the MCAT test to do better on this section. So if you guys like this video, feel free to smack that like button, subscribe to the channel, help me bust through those YouTube algorithms, and let's get started. Now, to start off with a quick intro, the psychological, social, and biological foundations of behavior is going to be the final section that you're going to have to write on the MCAT. And the questions that you're going to see on this section of the test, 65% of them are going to be coming from psychology, 30% of them are going to be coming from sociology, and the remaining 5% are going to come strictly from biology. Unfortunately, as I said before, there are many students that actually don't do very well on this section of the test. And in my opinion, after speaking to a few of my friends and some other students, and even in my own experiences, there's really 3 reasons why this happens. The first being because this section of the test, the psychology and sociology section, has built up a reputation as being one of the easiest parts of the test. And there might be a little bit of truth to this, but because people think that it is the easiest part of the test, they often don't take the time to spend on studying specifically for this section, and they don't do well on this section of the test compared to some of the other sections where they spent a lot more time focused on studying. The second reason why some students find it difficult to do well on this section of the test is because it is the very last section of the test. And at this point in the test, if you're writing the regular 7.5-hour test, the exam fatigue really sets in, where you've been writing for a long period of time, and now you've reached the final section of the MCAT, you could almost see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you just want to get out of there as soon as possible. And it's for this reason that I really think that the 2020 version of the MCAT test is going to be highly advantageous for some students to write, because it's going to minimize exam fatigue, but I digress. And the third reason why some students, myself included, have found it exceptionally difficult to do very well on this section of the test is because there are just so many terms and theories and things to memorize. I can't tell you how much time I spent trying to memorize as much as possible, only to walk in on test day and come across terms that I had never seen before in all my time spent studying. Keep in mind that I am saying to do exceptionally well, right? That's the little asterisk that I'm putting here. In my opinion, it is probably way easier to walk in on test day and get a 125 on psychology and sociology if you've never studied it before, versus something like chemistry or biology. The issue, though, is that you don't want a 125 on the psych and sociology section of the test, especially if you had an amazing rest of the test, right? You want to take as many points from every single section as possible in order to bring up your MCAT score to get into those really competitive schools. My updated study plan is actually going to reflect this. The name of the game is to show up on test day having reduced uncertainty as much as possible. You're going to go over as many theories, as many different terms as you possibly can in order to be prepared when you actually show up. This is how I would actually recommend that you study. The very first step is to start at your study basics, take your study books. This is actually the one that I use, the Princeton 2nd edition. So the idea here is to go through the books one chapter at a time. Start at the very beginning and make your handwritten notes as you progress through. Then go back over them with a highlighter, highlight the most important parts, and star the ones that you're really not all too familiar with already. At the end of each chapter, all of your difficult / highlighted or starred points that you've created as you went through, you're then going to go onto the Khan Academy website and actually watch the videos describing what these particular terms or theories are. That way you could understand them a little bit better than before. The Khan Academy videos are actually really great, and they're free when it comes to actually learning all of this new stuff. But at the end of every single chapter, you do need to do some practice questions, either in your textbooks, or even better, I would highly suggest that you go and check out the ones at the Khan Academy website, because they are a little bit harder, and in my opinion, they've done a great job looking at all of the different practice passages and the graphs and all the representation of data, like you're going to see on the actual MCAT test. Finally, the last and most important part of the study plan that unfortunately I didn't even know about when I was studying for the test, but probably would have made all the difference when it comes to knowing all of the different terms. Once you have made it through your resource in terms of your study book or whatever else that you have, and you've made all your notes already and you understand, at least at the basic level, all of the different concepts, you are then going to download the Khan Academy notes that were made by MCAT Bros, so shout out to MCAT Bros. It is a free 300-page resource that I'm going to link in the description below. This document basically just takes all of the important terms from all of the Khan Academy videos on psychology and arranges them in a very nice and linear list. Now I know it sounds like a 300-page document that's a little daunting when you first look at it in that sense, but once you've actually been through a first pass of your actual psychology and sociology prep books, a lot of these terms will already be familiar to you. So you're just going to go through these pages very quickly, be on the lookout for ones that you haven't seen before, and highlight them, make a note, and then you take a first pass, and then you go back and take a second pass, and as you go through them over time, you're just going to try to memorize these terms, and the list of words that you don't know are just going to grow shorter and shorter over time. I promise you guys, if you take this concept here and combine it with adequate practice testing and practice questions, you are going to do amazing on the MCAT Psychology and Sociology section. Okay, so now for the final part of the video, we're going to be quickly going over my 5 tips to improve your score on this section of the test. My very first tip is to be wary of unfamiliar terms, especially if you've gone ahead and put in the amount of prep that I'm describing in this plan right here. If you show up on test day and you're stuck between an answer that you believe to be the right answer and an answer where you've actually never seen that term before, in my opinion, I would actually err on the side of the devil that I know, and that is the thing that I've seen before and I've studied, and this to me is standing out as the correct answer versus something that sounds like it could work, but actually I've never come across it before. My second tip, and this one is so incredibly important for this particular section, and that is to be comfortable with your data interpretation. And not just that, be familiar with terms like p-values, confidence intervals. What do these things mean? How could you apply them to actual situations? I would highly recommend that you go over all of these different things, and then a few of the smaller ones too, like different types of error, type 1 versus type 2 error, what's an ANOVA test, how do statistics work in general for these types of studies. And for that, if you really want some good practice, in my opinion, I would highly recommend, once again, the Khan Academy questions. And I swear that I'm not sponsored and I don't work for those guys, but they are great questions in my opinion. Tip number 3 is to not let the information presented to you in a passage distract you when it comes to the actual question. A lot of times you're going to need to be using the information that was given to you in a preceding passage to answer the questions, but there's also been times where I've come across questions that do not relate to the passage that came before it at all. It'd be a long exposition followed by a question that didn't relate to the passage at all. So always make sure that you're checking the passage and the question to really pick and choose which parts are going to be useful and which parts aren't when it comes to answering the question. Tip number 4 is to slow it down when it comes to this section of the test. In both of the times that I've written the MCAT test, the psychology section and sociology section has been one of those sections that I've made it through with like 20 to 30 minutes left over after a first pass, which in my opinion, if I was going to go back and write it again, I would highly suggest that you slow everything down. This is just going to allow you a little bit more time to really think things through and be sure of your answers before you select them and move on to the next one. And finally, tip number 5, and my direct answer to exam fatigue, is coffee. But not this. This isn't going to suffice on MCAT day. My very last tip, and what I did on my actual MCAT test, was that on the morning of the test, I filled up an entire protein shaker full of black coffee. And then what happened was I kept this in my locker all throughout the test. And at the very end for the psychology test, I had some in between like my lunch breaks and a few other breaks just to keep me going. But I made sure that I had saved about half of just black coffee so that after my final optional break, I went back out, drank as much black coffee as I could because I was feeling super tired. Then I got as energized as possible. I went and I gave it my best shot, and then I crashed as soon as I got home. But what was important was that I had the energy when I needed it during one of the most important tests that you'll ever write in your medical career. Guys, that is going to be it. That is my entire video, everything that I have to say on the psychology and sociology section of the MCAT. That needs a new name, by the way, because it is very, very long and easy to forget. I hope you guys liked it. I hope you guys learned something here today. I'm going to check back in with you, hopefully sometime this week. I really hope that I can get out 2 videos this week, but we'll see what happens. I post here once a week other than that. But I hope you guys are having a great day so far. Everyone keep remembering to work hard, study hard, have fun, and see you all in the next one. Everyone take it easy.